Hello, my beautiful, amazing crochet fan. We are going to jump right into this tutorial. I'm going to let you know what you need for this tutorial. Go ahead and grab you some scissors. And then I want you to grab a stitch marker, and you will need a dotting needle. And you're going to need the dotting needle, of course, to sew in your ends. And then we're going to need a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook, as well as some yarn. I have loops and threads here, 4-weight yarn. And for this project, we're going to need black, white, and red. And we are going to start with our white yarn for this project, okay? So I'll make sure I have all the details for the pattern on the screen so that you can kind of follow along if you want to, or you can kind of do it yourself. And we are going to start with a slip stitch, and we are going to go with 6 single crochets into a magic ring. So this is what I'm doing here, and I am going to show you the process as I go through this pattern. So there goes 1. I'm going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And once we make that 6th stitch, we are going to add our stitch marker, and then we are going to, let me get the stitch marker here. I'm trying to talk before I actually put the stitch marker in, y'all. And then we are going to pull that string just to make that circle a little tighter. And then what I like to do is just show y'all here that we are going to start right there, because don't pull your string a little too tight so that you don't see that stitch. So be very careful. You want to pull it just enough so that you can get your hook still into that first stitch, because sometimes if you pull it too much, you won't be able to see that first stitch. And as y'all can see, that stitch marker was trying to give me a hard time. But we are going to start on the second round of our hacky sack, which is 2 single crochets into each stitch. That is called a crochet increase. So you're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and then you're going to end up with 12 stitches. And I like to count them just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you're going to do all the way around until you get to that stitch marker, okay? Okay, so now that we are at the stitch marker, we're going to take it out and we're going to start on row 3. So round 3. Round 3, as you can see from the pattern, it is 1 single crochet in the first stitch and then an increase in the next stitch. All that is 1, then go to the next stitch and put 2 and 3. Your next stitch is 4, then you go over and put 5 and 6 in the next. That is this round. At the end of this round, you are going to have 18 stitches, and I'll see y'all at the end of this round. We are ready for round 4, which with this pattern, we are going to do 2 single crochets in the first, 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to increase in that third stitch, okay? So it's going to be 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochet in the next. So how I like to count it again is 1, 2, then 3 and 4 is together. 5 and 6 are by themselves, and 7 and 8 are together. So we'll do that all the way around, and at the end of this round, we will have 24 stitches. So I'll see y'all at the end of this. All right, crochet family, we are about to start our 5th round. And for this round, as you can see with the pattern, we have 3 single crochets, and then we will do an increase in that 4th stitch. So how I count it out is 1, 2, 3, and then stitches 4 and 5 will go together. And we will follow that repeated pattern all the way around. 3 single crochets goes into a stitch, 1 single crochet going into a stitch by itself 3 times, and then on the 4th stitch we're going to put 2, which is considered that increase. You're going to end with 30 stitches for this round. I will see y'all at the end of this round. So now we are going to start on row 6. And you will see from row 6 to 10, it's more so of an easy rows is what I call them, because they're repeat rows, but we're going to change colors in between these rows. So row 6 is 1 single crochet around. So you will have 30 stitches at the end of this round, but also at the end of this round, we are going to switch to our black yarn. So I'm going to come back at the end of this round, okay? All right, so as y'all can see, I paused at the end of this round to cut the yarn, and then I didn't fully complete that stitch. So this is how I do my color changes. The yarn that I will have to initially pull through to complete the stitch, I add my next color. So I'm showing you that here to where I'm connecting the black yarn, and then I'm just pulling it through, and that's completing that last stitch, that 30th stitch on from round number 6. Okay, so then I add my stitch marker, and then I'm just going to go around for 2 more rows with the black yarn, and then we're going to switch colors again. So I'm going to speed the video up a little more again throughout these 2 rounds, and then I'll show y'all how I actually connect my, well, I want to say weave in my yarn, but I don't really weave it in. I'll show y'all after I actually change all of the colors how I do it, because we're not going to see the inside of this anyway. So I'll show y'all how I do that. But we're going to go around with the black for 2 rounds, and it's going to be both of the rounds are 30 stitches at the end of each round. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll see y'all at the end of the second black round, okay? Okay, so we are going to change colors again, and this is the last color change. We are going to come in with the red, and we are going to do it the same way that we change colors with the black, and we're just going to pull that red through, and then I am going to add my stitch marker after I kind of tighten it there. So I add my stitch marker, and then the next thing that you will see me do is we are going to go 2 more regular rounds with the red for at the end of each round it would be 30, and then after those 2 rounds, that's when we will start our decrease. So what I am going to do is come back after the 2 rounds of just 1 single crochet in each stitch. After that, I'm going to show you how I tie up these ends, and then start with the decrease rows. So I'll see you at the after these next 2 rows, okay? All right, so now that we are at the end of our last rounds before the decreases, so that we were in around 10 with 1 single crochet around, okay? So I'm going to show y'all how I weave in my ends and take care of those other color changes. So what I actually do is just take my needle for the bottom where the starter row, And then what I do is just pull it tight, pull it really, really tightly, and then just go in, and then I create a knot, and I pull that tight, and then I go in one more time just for security. One could be good, but I always like to do it twice. Then I leave that there. So then I focus on the side where the stripes are. So what I find is that when I pull these a little tighter, it gives a better, cleaner look when we flip the work over. And all I do here, I don't weave in any ends because like I said, we are not going to actually see this, from the inside. So all you have to do is tie a knot. And for each of these, I like to tie 3 knots per the 2 for the color changes. And honestly, you can do 1 knot or 2 knot. I think it will still stay. I am just a person that likes to make sure that it's going to stay. So I make sure that for each of the color changes, the only thing that I do is tie 3 knots. And like I say, don't forget and don't be afraid to kind of pull those 2 strings a little tighter so that we can have a cleaner look when we flip our work, okay? So that's 1. I'm going to go in again with 2, and then I'm going to do it one more time with 3. So then after that, you don't worry about having to cut anything because we're flipping our work. And this is when I like to start crocheting this way as well. Some people may flip their work earlier, but this works best for me. So I flip my work after those last 2 rounds of red. And as you can see right here, you can see it's a little uneven, but don't worry about that because what we're going to do is add our little circle piece there. So now what we are doing here, we are going to start round 11. And the only thing we have to do, as you can see with the pattern, we have 1 single crochet in each of the first 3 stitches, and then we are going to do a decrease, okay? And this is number 3 here. And then when we get to that 4th stitch, you're going to just combine 2 stitches together and boom, okay? So let me show y'all that again. We go 1, 2, 3, and then for that decrease, we're going to go 1, 2, but then boom, we are going to bring that together. So that will be our decrease. So this round is 3 single crochets and then a decrease. And then at the end of this round, you're going to end with 24 stitches. And as y'all can kind of see here, I have a tight tension, so I can decrease that way. I don't necessarily pull my yarn or have a loose yarn when I'm doing decrease rows. I keep everything really, really tight so that I can have more of a cleaner look when we are actually going to have to close up the yarn, okay? Or close up the piece when we're finished with this row. But I will see y'all when we get to our 12th round. Now it is time for our next decrease round. We are going to just move our stitch marker. I kind of forgot there. We're going to move that stitch marker, y'all. And for this round, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So that's 1, 2, and then we're going to combine stitches 3 and 4. And when we follow that pattern all the way around, 2 single crochets and a decrease, we will have 18 stitches at the end of this round, okay? So I will see y'all at the end. We are ready for our next decrease round. So for this one, we are going to have 1 single crochet and then a decrease. So it'll be 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to put stitches 2 and 3 together. So it's 1 single crochet, then a decrease, and that would give us at the end of this round, we will have 12 single crochets. And then as y'all can see, because I know some may be thinking like, wow, I kind of do crochet a little tight, and I do, because when you're doing a smaller amigurumi too, especially when you're trying to put something inside of something, you're going to want to make sure that your stitches are nice and tight, okay? So I'm going to continue around with that 1 single crochet and then a decrease, and then we're going to have 12 stitches. And after this round, we are going to actually add in the things that we are going to make, the hacky sack like have that stress ball feel. So I am almost complete here, and then we'll talk about that, okay? There we go. And as y'all can see, I still pull my yarn a little tighter too. And don't be afraid to loosen that thing up once you finish each round, because especially after that 12th round, because we're going to fill it up here. So sometimes you may have to open your hole up a little more, because we only have one more decrease round after this one, okay? So I like to just pull a little bit just to give me a little room to add in my corn kernels. So I've had someone suggest, a beautiful, beautiful person off of my YouTube channel suggested that you can put beans in these also. I am going to use the corn kernels as I'm showing here, and I got this bag off of from Dollar General. It was $2.50 for a big bag, y'all. I've made a lot of hacky sacks out of just this one bag. And what I like to do on this round is just pour it in just like this. And I kind of crease the top a little bit so that all the kernels can kind of flow in easily. And I don't fill it to the tip top. I kind of give it like a little shake. And as you're going to see here, I'm going to go back in and put just a little more, because I like to have just enough, but I don't want it to overflow, because I'm honestly going to do my last decrease row. And I want to do it in a way to where when I'm decreasing, I don't want anything to be too much, because then it makes it harder for me to have to decrease. And I don't necessarily like that, okay? So we're going to go in with our final round, which is round 14. And as you can see, I'm pulling that yarn a little tight here, and I'm working on my actual table, holding it down there. And I'm going to decrease around with it being down, and that kind of works a little easier for me. And a decrease is just, we're going to combine 2 stitches together like we did before, okay? So at the end of this round, we are going to have 6 stitches. One of my little coins try to shoot out there, but we're going to go around. I did 1, and you're going to see how I'm actually doing it. I'm just decreasing around, and I'm keeping that stitch like really, really tight. And I'm actually trying to hold on to the actual hacky sack as I'm going around, because it's going to keep everything like it's tight, trying to get all up in there, but it keeps everything in once I have it on the table. And I still have a little bit of room, like I say, to do my decreases. So make sure when you are putting, if you're using beans or if you're going to use the kernels, make sure that you don't overstuff it, okay? Because overstuffing it, you will see that it will be so hard to decrease for your final row, and you would not want to do that, trust me. So, and you would, I think when you don't add too much, it's still a good thing, because then it gives that sound, that squishy, squishy sound. So that's a good thing. So all I do here, because I want to show y'all how I close up my hacky sack. So I'm going to cut my yarn, and then I'm going to add that little lost corn kernel, because I just couldn't leave it out. And we are going to close up and finish off this project. So then I just do that, make a little knot, and as y'all can see, we have a little hole, and we have a little teeny little bit of room to the top, which is fine. And we're going to add our needle so that we can close things up, okay? Now, how I like to close things up, I like to go through those 6 stitches, and I just follow it around, just go in and out those 6 stitches as if you're kind of like sewing a little bit, right? So from 1, 2, go through 3, 4, just all the way around, and you're going to see it's going to beautifully close up that top stitch, and it's going to make your project look very, very nice and clean. Okay, so I'm going in here and just showing y'all, and then at the end I pull tight. When you're going to see when I pull tight, look how nice and neat that is. Very nice and neat. And I make sure that I tighten it a good bit too, but it closes it up like a nice little circle. Then what I do is find a stitch that's close by, y'all, and then I create a knot, because I like to make sure that this thing is secure, because with these hacky sacks, we're going to be throwing them around, squishing them and all kind of stuff, and we can't afford for this stuff to come out. So then I pull that yarn really nice and tight, and then I'm going to weave in my ends. Okay, so I'm weaving these through, and then I'm going to cut my yarn, and then we'll come back because I have to show y'all how to make the circle part for this ball. We are almost done. Y'all are doing great. Like, you got to give yourself a hand clap because you finished the main part. And if you want to do this in a solid color, just use the same exact pattern and just put it in a solid color. You don't have to do the ball type like how it is here with the color changes. Okay, so I'll see y'all when we get to the other round circle. Crochet family, so now it is time for us to make the circle piece that will go on the front of our ball, and we are going to do 6 single crochets into the magic circle, and this is going to go just how we started the beginning of the poke ball round. Okay, so what we're going to do is put 6 single crochets into that magic ring, but this time we're not going into a continuous circle. What we are going to do is actually um slip stitch into the first stitch and chain 1. And I want you to know that that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Okay, it does not count as a stitch. This is quick and easy, and like I say, sometimes it's so hard for me to show the actual stitches because the project is a kind of like, with it being amigurumi, is so much more smaller, and I'm not using chunky yarn. So that's why I like to come and just talk to y'all about it, but also show my process as I'm crocheting it. Okay, so we're going to add our stitch marker, and then we're going to go in and put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. That's the increase around. Okay, so 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and at the end of that round we are going to have 12 single crochets, which is the same, like I said, as the beginning of our hacky sack ball when we started. So this is pretty easy. We're just kind of repeating three of the first rows, and that's going to be it. Okay, because at the end of this row we are going to slip stitch to combine, and then we're going to change the color to black. Okay, because it's going to give that nice little effect that we're looking for this hacky sack. So we're almost there at the end, and just like we did when we were changing colors before, I'm going to change colors the same way I did before. Now, if y'all do not like that way, that is okay, because I always say make crochet the way that works best for you, and maybe you do your color changes differently, and that is okay. Okay, so I'm going to add in my black, well, no, what I'm doing here, I'm sorry, I'm going to slip stitch, but I'm not finishing off that slip stitch. I'm going to cut my yarn, and then I'm going to bring the black through so that I can slip stitch with the black yarn, and then I could chain 1 and then start the last round for this part of the the hacky sack ball. Okay, so pulling that black through, and then I like to just pull it and tighten it a little bit there so that it makes it a little easier for me to actually crochet with. Okay, so we chain up 1, we add our stitch marker, and then for the final round for this little circle part, we are going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch and then an increase in the second stitch. Like I say, it's just like when we was doing the ball. So we're going to have 1 by itself, 2 and 3, together. And at the end of this round, y'all, we will have 18 stitches. So I will see y'all at the end of this round. Okay, so we made it to the end of the round, and we are just going to slip that yarn like and finish it off. We are going to, just like how we finish off everything else, but make sure you leave a long tail because we're going to have to use that to sew in, sew it on the ball. And what I like to do here is flatten it out a little bit. Like I told y'all, we're opening up that hole when we had to add like the corn kernels. Don't be afraid to actually flatten out your circle. Like you may have to kind of like pull it apart, because for me, I am a tight crocheter, so sometimes I have to loosen those stitches up. So what I like to do is go in and close up this hole the same one like I did the last time. And y'all, I am not going to weave in any ends. I am going to close it up the same way, but I'm going to cut my pieces for the strings to where they can hide behind the actual ball when we sew it on. And for this one, I just did one little knot, and then I'm going to tie my knot for the color change on this small piece here. And that's what you see me doing in the video, just tying those two color changes together. And I do it the same way from when I did the ball, multiple knots just to make sure that it is secure, and don't be afraid to pull it, you know. So then I grab all of my ends, and then I give it a snip, and I just make sure that it's short enough so that it can hide behind the circle. And I'm showing y'all that too because I'm laying it down flat so that you can see that when I stitch it on, you're not going to be able to see those little ends in the back, because we're going to stitch that part on to the ball. And all you do is find that area of the ball where you did your color changes right there. It's not really bad, but you can tell that, you know, it's a little bit off because we did the color changes there. And that's where you're going to place that circle, okay? You're going to place it just right there. And I wanted to show y'all how I stitched this on the ball because, y'all, guess what? I had a hard time with attaching things when it comes down to amigurumi. So I said, you know what? I wanted to make sure that I show exactly how I do this. So I take my needle and I go through one of the stitches, and then I just pull it up randomly through a spot on the ball. So follow me, y'all. I'm telling you, it's going to work. So I pull it up through any place. Then I make sure I go right back into that stitch. But then I'm going to the next stitch over from where I came from. Pull up that, push that needle through, and then I'm going to pull it tightly. Boom. Then I'm going to the next stitch over, put it through, and pull it any way through the ball, anywhere, because we're going to go right back through that same stitch and it's not going to show, okay? So then you're going to go right back through the same stitch as I'm showing you there. But then when you come back through, go to the next stitch over. And this is how we're actually sewing it down on the ball. And you're going to see the end results is beautiful. A nice, beautiful flat piece that looks like it is a part of this hacky sack, okay? So I will see y'all at the end of this. All right, crochet family, we have made it all the way around, y'all. We did it. Y'all have stuck through, and look at that. Nice and neatly sewn on. And I like to just squish it around just to kind of relax the yarn and kind of get it how I want it to look. But as y'all can see, I think it turns out really, really well. You can't even tell how we stitch it on. So it turned out really good. I hope this helps someone who may have had problems with stitching things on. Like, when I found this out, because I kind of just was like, let me just do this way, and it worked for me. So I'm happy to share with y'all. And as always, thank y'all for being the best part of my crochet family. And I am your one and your only Lady of Crochet, and I will see y'all in the next one.